I'm GFWilliams and welcome back to the channel. So I am currently in my own Exige, but today's video is actually going to be driving Dave's car. It's a 430 Cup Type 25, but it's got over 500 horsepower and a dual clutch gearbox, which is just ridiculous. So I hopped in his car and just filmed straight away. So sorry if my ramblings don't make entire sense. I'm going to give you some thoughts and then I'm going to come back to my car and discuss how it's all relevant to this. Welcome to a 500 horsepower dual clutch gearbox Exige 430 Type 25. This is Dave from SeriouslyLotus's car. So to give you some context, this car was converted to have the dual clutch gearbox over in Germany, and both Dave and John did the conversion with the training and help and support of Komotec, as it is one of the first cars that has actually had this gearbox, and it is the first in the UK, so I'm very excited to try it and see what it's all about. So my first impressions are very positive actually. So there's a few different modes, and let me get into some technical details about it, and Dave, who's sitting next to me, will probably give me a little bit of help on that. So there's different modes on the gearbox, plus it's also got a different ECU, which is EMU Black.
Correct.
And what that allows is a couple of different maps. So touring mode has about 400 horsepower and can be run on normal fuel, and then sport mode upwards in this particular car, which has had pistons and rods installed, has about 500 horsepower and has to be run on 98 fuel or above. And it also gives you the ability to change the throttle map and a few other things, which is a really nice feature. On the actual gearbox you have drive, sport and fully manual mode, and it's as you'd expect of basically a Volkswagen gearbox. It is incredibly quick and smooth, and to be honest, when it's in automatic you don't even think about it, which is actually the biggest compliment I can give it, because you don't have to change gear yourself. It works as a automatic should. Also, that's ridiculous. The down change is so fast and also smooth, importantly. It's worth noting that this isn't absolutely final and there's a few little tweaks to do, but in my own opinion I would be incredibly happy if this was in my car as it is right now. So I think that's all you could want, and I always believe that aftermarket tuning, it's never going to be quite as good as an OEM effort because there isn't that £1 million budget to develop stuff, but this does feel like an OEM effort. In sport and race mode, this car has 520 Newton meters of torque. That is approximately 100 Newton meters more than my car with the 460 kit. And that really means you can just ride the torque, but put it into sport mode, get the revs up, and it is absolutely ballistic. So good. It's so quick to change, and it's a real experience. In all honesty, it makes the car so fast that I am the limiting factor, not the car. And I have to really think, because it's quite considerably quicker than my car, if I'm honest. the manual gearbox in the Exige isn't fantastic. It's a cable system, which means that there's calibration and things that can go wrong with it. And to be honest, I've always thought, even with the upgraded exposed linkage, that it's quite sloppy on the Exige, which is why I wouldn't feel like I'm giving anything away if I did this. I feel like this is more of an experience, and it's so fast. Let me explain a bit about who Seriously Lotus are, because some of you won't know. Seriously Lotus are a Komotec authorised installer and service centre, and what most people will know them for is actually their online shop, because in my opinion and quite a few people's, they provide by far the best service in the Lotus world. And for the record, Dave doesn't pay me anything to say that. That is my own opinion, and I think most people would probably agree with me. Seriously Lotus do actually have a workshop where they can install Komotec kits and do quite a lot else as well. They've got lots of experience, more than my lifetime worth by quite some margin. And
is that the same as St. Amald?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if we go into drive mode, that is the mode you would drive in normally day to day if you're in traffic, and you do not need to think about what the gearbox is doing. It will just sort you out, and it does just make the right decisions, and I haven't managed to catch it out. So that drive mode I think is perfect. The throttle can be a little bit aggressive, but that's kind of what you actually want, because it means you can pull away quickly when required. And Dave launched it earlier, and by God it was quick. No manual Exige would see which way this went. Into sport mode, and there's a little rotary dial here where you change the mode, and you can hear immediately it's changed down a gear for me, and what it means is it just holds on to gears for longer, and I end up changing up for it. But on track you could drive in sport mode and it would be absolutely fine. You don't actually need the paddles. It's a clever enough gearbox that there's absolutely no need. And then finally, paddles only mode, which I like just because I get to change gear and they sound ridiculous and they're instant, and the response off the paddle is really good as well. I think on some gearboxes, even OEMs, the real letdown factor can be the speed of the paddle, and it's actually really good on this. It's way quicker than I expected, to be honest. Right, so we have a nice bit of road here, and I put it in sport mode, and I'm going to give it full throttle with full power. It's so fast. Oh, it's so good. It is so quick and so responsive compared to any other Exige I've ever driven. And interestingly, because it's got so much torque, you find you don't need to use the revs as much, and you change up early, especially on the road. I can only imagine how quick it would be on track. And sorry I'm not looking over at the camera much, but I'm really concentrating. It's got so much power. Yeah, it's very impressive. Okay, so back in my car now, and there's a few points I want to speak about. First of all, I thought the car was absolutely brilliant. The gearbox combined with the power was so impressive from a performance point of view, just amazing. And not just that, but the way it feels, the experience it gives you, to me, it offered way more than my manual gearbox ever has given me. I appreciate that some people out there are manual gearbox lovers, and that's absolutely fine. I'm cool with that. I also love a manual gearbox. I've done absolutely loads of miles in this car with this manual gearbox. I've actually already done one gearbox rebuild, and now it's time for the second one. That shows how much I've driven this car. When I first got this car, I found hill and toe really difficult, and now it's just totally second nature. And that's something I really like about this car, is that you have to learn it, but it's still just not quite as precise as I would always like. There's a little bit of slop in the gearbox, and I've got the exposed linkage, which still isn't as good as I would like it, really. And the dual clutch just solves that, and it makes the car so much faster. I mean, on track, you can't rush this manual gear shift. It just doesn't like that. And with a dual clutch, just to be able to just bang through the gears, to be able to never miss a shift, it's just so much fun. I really, really enjoyed it. Would I like it long term? Yes. The topical thing now, and the big question is, why am I not putting it in my own car right now? Because if ever there was a time, this should be the perfect timing, with a gearbox rebuild, a new clutch needed, a new limited slip diff needed, which has actually been done in a couple of weeks now. Well, quite simply, it comes down to costs, because I cannot afford the dual clutch gearboxes. Would I do the dual clutch in the future? Well, yeah, I probably would, actually. I think if I'm earning the money to be able to, and the timing is right, potentially when this gearbox next goes, then yeah, I think I probably would do it. So massive thank you to Dave from Seriously Lotus. That was a really, really interesting drive. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I hope my kind of ramblings made sense. And if you are in the UK and would like a Komotec conversion on your car, now it doesn't have to be a dual clutch. It can also be a 460 kit, a 410 kit, 430 kit, all of the above, 475 kit for the 410s, 420s and 430 cars. Dave is totally trustworthy, lovely bloke. Give him a call. It's worth the drive. I know he's in Hull. I live in Surrey. It's a long way, but it's worth it. And in future, he will do all the work on my car, because he's just brilliant, totally honest, and makes you feel like it's worth it. So thank you for watching. I hope you found that interesting. Thank you so much to Dave for letting me drive his car. I mean, it's such a mega car. I was a bit jealous, even though his car wasn't purple. So yeah, thank you guys. See you next time.